Good morning. Welcome to more yoga with me, Emily. Once again, I said good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you. Thank you, for joining me. I've got some requests in for some heart openers, for some back bends. So that's what we're going to work on today, building up to camel pose. And we're going to come into camel a couple different ways, but we'll talk about that later. No big deal. So let's start lying down. If you're comfortable there, if you'd prefer to stay seated, then you're welcome to stay seated, or even in child's pose, just somewhere that you can be at ease. I'm going to lie down because I didn't sleep very well last night. And then you might, get some little less stretches or twists or wiggles out, anything you feel like you need to do before you can settle in. And then if you're lying down on your back, I'd like you to think of wrapping your shoulder blades onto your back a little bit more, just to open up a touch more through the chest. And palms facing up will help you do this as well. And for a few breaths, inhale deeply through your nose. And exhale, sigh. Breath away. A couple more. And continue breathing however you need to, whether it's in and out through your nose or your mouth. Notice how your breath is flowing, how it feels today. And there's nothing to fix or change. Your task is simply to observe. Thoughts may come and go. Acknowledge them without judgment, but try to let them go. Let them drift by you like leaves on the wind. Excuse me. Well, on that note, maybe we should start to wake up. Bring a little bit of movement back to your body. And wiggle your fingertips or your toes. Maybe a little rock of your head from side to side. And start to reach your legs along the mat. My friends who are seated, come join us down on your back. And then maybe reach your arms up overhead along the floor. Come into a big full body morning stretch. Oh, it can feel so good. I don't know if you ever actually do this first thing in the morning. But I call it that anyway. And then draw your knees into your chest. And take a little rock from side to side. Massage out the base of the spine and the pelvis. And any other movement that might feel good here for you. And bring your feet to the floor. Knees bent, feet hip width apart, parallel-ish, and close enough into your bum that you can tickle your heels with your fingertips. And what this does, it makes a really strong base of support when you go into bridge. If your feet are too far away, then it's like you're trying to press yourself back. And if your feet are too far in toward you, then the knees start to track past the ankles, and it can be a little bit hard on your body. So, setting up for bridge pose. And then let's just flow in and out of it. So on your inhale, start to peel the pelvis and the spine up and away. As you exhale, gently lower back down. So a few of these. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower back down. And just mobilizing a little bit more through the spine, warming up the glutes for sure, and the quads, and the hamstrings. And the next time that you lift up, pause there. Some of you might stay here. You might be down. You might be way up high. Some of you might choose to walk onto the outside edge of the shoulders. Maybe you clasp your hands behind your back. You don't have to, but you can. And then notice the position that you're in is essentially camel pose, but you're on your back instead of on your shins. So we're going to use this bridge pose as a blueprint for when we go into camel. Notice how much your core, right, your glutes, your belly have to work to keep you up here. Notice how much opening that you get through the chest. Last couple breaths here. And then slowly lower back down on your exhale. Heel until your feet mat width apart. And let your knees hang in toward each other for a couple breaths. Just getting rid of all the tension. And then draw your knees back in towards your chest. Take a little rock from side to side. Some of you might reach your legs up to the sky. You could point and flex through the toes. You might reach your arms as well. You could draw circles. You could do like kind of flamenco fingers. You might start shaking everything. And it might be really crazy, really wild. Last couple breaths here. And then draw your knees back in toward your chest. Some of you are going to feel great rocking and rolling up and down your spine. Think shoulder blades to sit bones to shoulder blades to sit bones. Some of you might roll to one side instead. But eventually, come on up. And then we'll make our way to hands and knees. So a tabletop position. Sitting up with knees underneath hips. Toes can be tucked or untucked behind you. And then hands outer shoulder width apart or wider. Spread your fingers nice and wide. And then as you inhale, lift the tailbone, hollow through the lower back. Wrap the shoulder blades toward each other. And then exhale, tuck the tailbone under and start to press your spine up to the sky. And inhale to dip the belly. Exhale, round. So a few more of these cat and cow undulations. On your own time, on your own breath. And yeah, maybe there's some other movement that would feel really good here. Other parts of the spine that you want to get into, or the torso. Last breath. And slowly come back to center. Little draw, belly button to spine. Tuck your toes behind you, and then when you're ready, lift your hips up and back into downward facing dog. And here you might pedal the heels a little bit, bending one knee and then the other. You might wag your tail from side to side. In fact, let's all do that. So bend your knees a little bit more. Send your heels to the right, all 10 toes to the left, and then lift that left hip up a little bit more. And then inhale back to center. And then heels to the left, toes to the right. Lift that right hip up a little bit more. And then come back to center. Last couple breaths here. Maybe you find a little bit of stillness. And then bend your knees, look forward. Take as many steps as you need to come into a standing forward fold. So here you might rest your elbows on your knees or thighs. You might bring hands to a block or some pillows. You might clasp opposite elbows with hands. And then let, nod your head yes, shake your head no. Let your head hang heavy, neck long. So it's more likely that you're looking between your legs than you are at the floor. Right? You want to really release those neck muscles. If your arms are crossed, take the opposite crossing. Little wiggle. And then release your hands. Bring your fingertips to your shins. And as you inhale, lift up partway. Lengthen through the spine. And exhale, let it all go. Couple more. Okay. Bend your knees. Bring your hands to your hips. Wrap your elbows, your shoulder blades up toward the sky, toward each other. Charge your legs. And then slowly inhale, come up partway. Find that partway lift. Hug the elbows toward each other. Belly bend to spine. Charge your legs. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Whew. Little hamstring and glute burning, maybe. Activation, just me, maybe not. Shake it out. All right. Let's bring the heart rate up just a little bit more. So very modified sun salutation, just the first part of it. Hug the legs toward each other. Little draw of belly button to spine. And then make sure your shoulders aren't cramping up by your ears. And then inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky. And exhale, forward fold. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands to prayer. Inhale to the sky. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, partway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands to prayer. One last time. And pause. Eyes open or closed. Notice whatever you notice. And then shake it out a little bit. Okay. Let's bring the feet hip width apart. So not too wide, not too narrow. And then pick up all 10 toes if you can. I don't know if you can see this on the video, but all my toes are lifted. And I want you to flare your toes as wide as you can. My fingers start doing weird stuff when I do this, so imagine, if you can't see my toes, imagine my hands are. And then bring your pinky toes down. Keep the other toes lifted. And then bring your big toes down. Keep the middle 3 toes lifted. Hey, do you feel that lift in the arch of the foot, that activation? Can you maintain that lift while bringing the rest of your toes down? It's a little bit tricky. Belly button to spine. Inhale, chair pose. Hips back. And then tailbone down, just to feel the belly button engage toward the spine. Inhale, bring your arms to cactus. And then imagine that the knees are going out rather than hanging in toward each other. And that's really going to help with that lift in the arch as well. And then a couple little breaths here. Nothing too crazy. Hips low, heart high. And then exhale, release, forward fold. Oh, a little wiggle, little shake. Inhale, lift up partway. And exhale, let it go. On your inhale, step your right leg back. Release your back knee to the floor or to a chip foam block or a pillow, anything you might have. And then inhale, come up for half kneeling or low lunge. I'd like you to back out of the hips a little bit. Hug the legs toward each other. Squeeze the bum. Belly button to spine. Shoulder blades on the back. And then shift forward. So we're really getting an active opening into the front of that right hip. Ground the front heel a little bit more so you're not unstable. And you might play with back toes tucked or untucked. and see if that changes the dynamic of the stretch for you. You can rest the palms gently on the front thigh if you wish. Maybe even press them forward slightly to send the shoulders back, getting even more extension at the hip. Because when you think about camel pose, it's a huge opening through the front of the hips as well as through the chest and the heart. Last breath here. Good. Back out of the hips a little bit. I'd like you to bring your right hand down to the floor or to a block. And particularly if the grab of the back foot is something that is very tricky for you, maybe you have a strap. I should have got one to demonstrate that you can loop it around the back foot. But the higher up this right hand is, the more accessible the grab of the back foot comes. So hips sink forward a little bit. And then reach around with the left hand, bend the back knee, and then maybe you find the back foot. Now, if you're going for the grab of the back foot, and you don't have to, maybe you just take this twist, okay? That's a really good place to go. If you're going for the grab of the back foot, you want to make sure you're not up on your kneecap, that you're actually on the thigh a little bit. And that's just going to protect that kneecap or that knee joint a little bit more. So maybe you're here, right? Maybe you're here. Squeeze the bum a little bit more on the right side. Last couple breaths here. And slowly, gently unwind. I want you to shift your hips back, extend through the front leg, half splits. Hands could be up on hips, or maybe on blocks, or on the floor. Really wrap the right hip forward as you draw the left hip back. And then a little micro bend on that front knee. Flare those toes again, and then press the big toe mound forward. And this will prevent you from hyperextending at the knee. Little lift of belly button to spine. So stay tall rather than rounding forward today. Well, that feels good. Well, fitness good. Last breath here. And then slowly inhale, ripple forward again, back into the front knee, and just gently step forward, standing forward fold. A little wiggle, little sway. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands to prayer. Shake it out a little bit. So you might be feeling a little bit lopsided from the work and the opening and the strengthening. Let's just roll with it. Feet hip width apart again. Belly bend to spine. Maybe pick up the toes and play with keeping the middle three toes lifted. And then inhale, chair pose. Okay, hips low, heart high. Arms might reach forward. You might have them in prayer. You might have them in cactus. Whatever feels better for you. And here's another option is maybe you interlace your hands behind your back, route the shoulder blades toward each other. This is going to give a little bit more extension at the spine. That's fine. It's hard to keep the tailbone really down, but hips low, heart high, and then maybe you start to reach the knuckles back, wrapping the elbows toward each other. Last couple breaths here. And then exhale, release, forward fold, little wiggle, little shake. Inhale, lift up partway. Exhale, fold. On your inhale, step your left leg back. Release your back knee to the floor or to your chip foam block. And then come on up to half kneeling. Let's get all those activations going in. So hug the legs toward each other. Really squeeze the bum on that left leg, or the left side rather. Belly bend to spine, shoulder blades on the back. And then shift forward into that front knee. Squeeze the bum like crazy on the left side. And then ground the front heel. Maybe your hands come to the front thigh and gently send the shoulders back. Back toes can be tucked or untucked. But really, really active release here of the hip flexors. Last couple breaths. Okay, back out of the hips a little bit. Maybe you have a block or a couple pillows that you can bring your left hand down to. If you have a strap and you'd like to use that for the back foot, go ahead. And then shift the hips forward a little bit. Wrap that bottom shoulder onto your back. Maybe you stay here, reaching that top arm up to the sky. Or maybe you sweep the right arm back behind you, bending the back knee for the grab of the back foot. Whew, and sometimes your hamstrings might cramp as you're trying to do this. Totally normal. A few breaths. Think of getting into the quads, into the hip flexors. My hamstrings keep cramping as I try to do this. And then try to be on the thigh rather than on the kneecap. Last couple breaths here. And if you have the back foot, gently release it. Bring both hands to the earth or to your hips, and then shift your hips back, extending through the front leg, half splits. Again, hands can be wherever, but I want you to keep the spine long. So if coming to the floor means that you have to round through the spine, then bring your hands up if you can, if you have props that you can use. Wrap the left hip forward, draw the right hip back. Flare the toes on that front foot and press the big toe mound forward. So you're getting into the calf muscles as well as the hamstrings. Last few breaths here. One more inhale. One sweet exhale. And slowly bend into the front knee again. Step forward into standing forward fold. Little sway or bounce, whatever you need. And then inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it go. Charge your legs. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. And exhale, release your hands through prayer. And then shake it out a little bit. Okay, first, a little standing back bend. Then we'll get into it on the knees. And then we're done. Okay. So feet hip width apart. I'm going to show you from the side. First option, really squeeze the bum, belly button to spine. Maybe you just bring your hands to your low back, right, or the hips, and then wrap your elbows toward each other. So already by doing this, I'm getting a little bit more extension through the spine, or even hyperextension is technically what it is. A little bit of a heart opener. Some of you might stay here. Some of you might think of pressing your hands into the hips to press them forward. A little micro bend in the knees. Keep squeezing the bum. Maybe you send the hips back, or the chest or torso or shoulders back a little bit more. Hips forward. Some of you might choose to interlace your hands. Maybe you slide the knuckles down the thighs, or really wrap the shoulder blades toward each other. Squeeze the bum like crazy. Keep looking forward or up, but try not to dump into the neck. Inhale, up. Whew. Exhale. Shake it out a little bit. In some ways, this sort of standing back bend is more challenging than camel because you don't have the support of your hands. Let's try one more, right? This might be where you want to be today, and that is beautiful, right? Honor your body, how it feels, as deep, as gentle as you need. Maybe you press the hips forward, opening through the chest. Maybe you interlace the hands and slide the knuckles down, right, wherever you need to go. Last couple breaths. Inhale all the way up. This time exhale, release, forward fold. Little bounce, little sway. Doing the counter pose can help release anything that might have got stuck. And then bend your knees, come down to hands and knees. Little wiggle, little shake. And then come up to full kneeling. This is where some of you might want to bring a pillow or something like that underneath your knees, or even double up your mat. You can fold it kind of like an accordion, and that will give your knees a little bit more cushioning here as we work our way into camel pose. So toes tucked behind you. Try to get all 10 toes tucked if you can, unless tucking the pinky toes means that the heels wing out to the side. You don't want that. And then hug the legs toward each other. Squeeze your bum like crazy. Your strength in camel pose comes from your butt. So if that's not working, then you're going to lose it. It's like in Dr. Seuss. I don't know if you know it, but there's a part about people who ride camels all day, and if their saddle's called a waddle, and if the button that holds it's called a faddle, so if your waddle faddle comes loose, then you're done like a goose. I don't know. Anyway, for me it works in my mind that you want your butt to be working here. Otherwise you'll lose the support and you might end up cranking into the lower back. Okay, so hug the legs toward each other, squeeze the bum, belly bend to spine. Again, maybe just hands to the hips and wrapping the shoulders and the elbows toward each other. This is stage 1. Stage 2, press the hips forward and start to lift to lean back. Stage 3, maybe you take the support away and bring your hands to prayer. And you want to think like there's a barbed wire fence behind your back, so you think of lifting up to go back. That's where squeezing the bum's really going to help. Maybe start to tilt back even more. Some of you maybe will have the grab of the heels. And then really squeeze the bum, open through the heart, last couple breaths, and then slowly, gently come out of it. Let's release into child's pose. Either knees together or knees wide, whatever's going to feel better for you. A few breaths here. And slowly come back up. We'll do one more set. It's a whamble, not a waddle. Whamble faddle. Anyway, for those of you who always have wondered, I can get my hands back to my heels. How the heck are you supposed to do that? Here's a second way that you can come into camel. The setup is the same, right? Knees, toes tucked, hugging the legs toward each other, squeeze the bum like crazy, belly bend to spine. I want you to keep your spine super long. Imagine that it's a plank or like a rod of steel, and then you just lean back. Lean back, lean back, lean back. Oh, hey, there's my heels. Find them, and then squeeze the bum even more to press the hips forward. So second set of camel, wherever you need to go. Last few breaths. Inhale up. Exhale, release, child's pose. And slowly come up. Shift your hips on one side. Swing your legs forward. And then roll down onto your back. Draw your knees into your chest. Little rock from side to side. Now hopefully that was a good experience. Sometimes, despite all our best efforts, you might feel a little bit of pinching. So sometimes a twist can release that. So take your right arm out to the side. You might shift your hips right a little bit to start with, and then exhale, lower your knees to the left. As gentle or as deep of a twist as you need. You might bring a block underneath the bottom knee or between your thighs. Some of you might take a single leg twist or cross legs. Maybe you bring the left hand to the top of the right thigh just for a little bit more traction. Last couple breaths here. And slowly inhale. Come back to center. Reset your spine and your pelvis. Maybe you shift the hips left. And then exhale, lower the knees to the right. Again, as gentle or as deep as you need. Any variation of twist that you would like to do. And it doesn't have to be the same one on the second side that you did on the first. Last breath. And then as you inhale, slowly come back to center. Hug both knees toward you. Take a little rock from side to side. Maybe you draw a couple of circles here, just massaging out the pelvis or the base of the spine. Maybe you take your knees wide. You can stay here, or maybe you kick your feet up to the sky for happy baby. You can grab the backs of the thighs, somewhere along the legs, maybe the outside edge of the feet. Happy baby is a lot more accessible if your knees are wider than your arms. And if there's anything else you feel like you need before your rest, maybe some sort of spinal flexion in particular, might feel really good. A beautiful place to rest today to counteract a little bit of that opening through the lower back would be to get a pillow or a chip foam block or bring it underneath the hips and just let the knees hang in toward you. So supported snail can be a very restorative and restful way to release through the lower back. Maybe you just rest in Shavasana, flat on your back, on your side, or child's pose. And then for 3 breaths, inhale deeply through your nose. Exhale, sigh your breath away. Couple more. Stay as long as you can here. 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.